Good afternoon, everybody. This is Melissa Thomas with Florida National News coming to you with another episode of FNN Politics and Power. Welcome back to the series. As I mentioned last week, we are officially back, so you can catch us. You can catch our episodes either live or by premiere Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. So be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff so you can catch all of our episodes. For today's episode, we are interviewing Orange County Commissioner Nicole Wilson. She is the commissioner for District 1 in Orange County, newly elected back in 2020. My goodness, what a year 2020 was. So today promises a great conversation. But if you're someone who is relatively new to either politics in general, or you've been following Orange County government and you still kind of don't have an idea about Commissioner Wilson, let me introduce you to her very briefly. So she is somebody who's big on the environment, in case you don't know, by law, by trade. She's a licensed attorney who works in public interest and has helped individuals and nonprofit environmental organizations navigate local, state, and federal laws. She believes that everyone has equal rights under the law and is committed to working on the behalf of underserved members of our community. And we'll talk about that in the show. She was born and raised in Gainesville and moved on to Central Florida about 20 years ago. So she's been in Central Florida for a minute. She received her bachelor's in psychology and human services from Mercer University and a law degree from Barry University School of Law. Her legal studies include a concentration in environmental and earth law, and she gained practice experience in Barry Law's Environmental and Earth Law Clinic, an advanced clinic. She went on to be named associate editor of the Environmental and Earth Law Journal and was awarded an honor certificate in environmental and earth law. In other words, she's green, not only in that respect of being new to the board, but green in all things environment. She is big on the environment. So we'll get to talking about that in the show as well. Commissioner Wilson is a member of the Florida Bar Environmental and Land Use section of the Florida Bar Animal Law section as well, the American Bar Association State and Local Government Law Group, and the Orange County Bar Association. She's also a public school advocate and has served on Orange County Public Schools PTA, PTO, and SAC committees in a variety of capacities for over 12 years and was awarded the Dolphin Living Legacy Award. That is a mouthful. So without further ado, we will bring in the lady of the hour. Commissioner Wilson, how are you?
I'm great, Melissa. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It is so good to see you today.
Likewise. Thanks so much for being available. We appreciate you. So first of all, obviously, we still have this big pandemic over our head. It is still here. So, one thing I always ask our guests is, how are you and how's your family holding up during the course of the pandemic?
Oh, thank you. I think what you just did by asking me is something we have to continue to do and ask all of our neighbors and our friends and our colleagues, because even, this many months later, we're still in this. The fight is still going on. And, right now we're in a phase where we are offering vaccines to everyone 16 and up, but it doesn't mean that we're getting everybody in there. So we really have to keep the dialogue up. I feel super grateful that my family is doing okay, that we have our health and that we have each other. And I know that's not the same across the country and across our county. So I try every day to think about all the people that are struggling and have struggled with this horrible pandemic.
Awesome. And you actually posted, you're someone that is pretty avid on social media, especially Facebook. And recently you had actually posted you and your team getting vaccinated. So what was your experience with the vaccine?
It was really an interesting experience because all three of us actually got our vaccines in different settings and different manufacturers. So I got the Pfizer through the FEMA vaccine site. My senior aide, Elise Perry, got hers through CVS, and I believe hers was Moderna. And Anne got hers at one of the pop-up sites, and it was Johnson & Johnson. And
wow.
Knock on wood, we're all doing great. I feel we were all so grateful. We were all very emotional that day because it happened to be that we, it worked out that it was like within 2 days that we all three got vaccinated.
Wow.
And it just kind of it really felt like, seeing that dawn on the horizon, and our commitment to letting residents know that we feel it is safe, that we we got it ourselves. We've advocated for our family members and our neighbors, and we just have to keep talking about it, that it's safe and effective. And it's really going to be the way that we will finally get back to hugging each other again without fear, and being back, face to face in every capacity. And I think, we just need to keep reminding each other.
For sure, for sure. So give us your perspective on Orange County's response to the COVID pandemic, because obviously you came in. I was actually talking to Commissioner Gomez Cordero about this last week, but and she'd been there from before the pandemic hit. You came in
so
pretty
weird.
much in the heat of it. So from your perspective, how has Orange County's response been to the pandemic?
I was proud to be an Orange County resident, and I was always proud to call Orange County my home. And clearly I love it. I wanted to be, put my whole heart, soul, and career on the line to try to do some good in this next few years. But yeah, when I entered the race, there was, at the time, there was no pandemic. And then within, the first few months of the campaign, we went into lockdown, and I immediately, without ever having, talked to him as a commissioner, reached out to the mayor and thanked him on behalf of my family, and thanked him on behalf of my community for taking the steps necessary to try to keep people safe. The thing, Melissa, that has amazed me since I've, really been involved, sort of, from day one in Orange County operations in regards to COVID, is how many people that work in Orange County had to pivot on a dime and change their entire work structure and take on a whole different role in order to fill a need that the pandemic brought forward. And just to give you an example, the team that worked on rental assistance and now is working on the emergency rental assistance. So these were people that were working in other departments, in the Department of Children and Families, and in other areas that really just learned an entirely new role and system. And so I've been really, really, really proud of the heavy lifting that we've seen them do for our most vulnerable citizens. We really want to make sure that people aren't facing homelessness on top of the health crisis. But I think that one of the things that has become very evident to me, and should become evident, I would hope, to local leaders across the country, is the glaring differences in healthcare opportunity and healthcare availability to different populations in our country, and that's not okay. So I thought about it when I was able to walk into the FEMA site or into the Orange County Convention Center, which is all Orange County resources right there, along with the Department of Health, and didn't have to plot a card and a copay, and we were able to get get the care we needed and say thank you and leave. And I thought, this is how it should feel. This is how we should care for each other. Healthcare is a right, and I feel strongly that we've been able to see the benefit of people's getting health care, in that we can roll up in our mobile vaccine site into neighborhoods where there may not be people who have insurance or don't have transportation, and get them the health care where they are. And I wish that we could take away from this horrible pandemic that lesson and treat people the same way for all of the healthcare challenges that are out there.
Yeah, you touched on the mobile vaccination site. So very quickly, obviously, Orange County, the mayor released the "I Got My Shot" campaign, and we had the launch with the mobile truck. Kind of give us your thoughts about that sort of truck. You guys were able to go in, take a tour, see the vaccines that were in it. What were your thoughts on that?
I totally geeked out. I thought it was so cool. It's a clinic on wheels. It's got the refrigerator or the freezer system that keeps the Pfizer vaccine or whatever vaccine they need at whatever the temperature is that they need. And it's set with an alarm that if something goes wrong, it alerts the medical staff on board. And it's got, sort of this brain center with a tracking. It blew me away. It makes me feel like when we put our minds to it, Melissa, we can do anything. This was really such a great collaboration with Orange County's partners And it's going to be the way that we can get to people that can't get to us. And that's how we're going to get that to that 79, 80% vaccinated mark. We can't just sit back and wait for people to come to us. That's not going to work. We need to go to the people where they are. We need to go and make sure that any of our neighborhoods where there are mobility issues, where there are trust issues, so that we can talk to them about it. And I loved that wasn't the mobile site itself felt very welcoming. It felt very official and professional, and it also felt like this is how we care for our community. So I'm very optimistic. I would love to see more than one. I would love to see them at high schools. I would love to see them showing up at sporting events. And so I think we're going to need to really get creative in the weeks and months to come to truly get us to that threshold, and then take those lessons about how we can serve the community and apply those in other ways.
Awesome. So the conversation continues, guys. We're going to take a brief commercial break, and as promised, we will get into the green stuff, the environment, and get Commissioner Wilson's thoughts on recent events. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
And we are back with the FNN Politics and Power Series with Orange County Commissioner Nicole Wilson. So wanted to definitely, as someone who is not only passionate about the environment, like you practice environmental law, what were your thoughts on the Piney Point Reservoir breach? Like, what were your thoughts on that, and how do you feel it's being handled?
Well, I sadly could see it coming. For those of us who have been trying to advocate and trying to nudge the legislature, trying to educate policymakers and decision makers about some of the risks that we've taken on as a community, it to me was fairly predictable, tragic. And when the governor took a victory lap as though there was some averted disaster, I wanted to throw something at my television because he did not avert a disaster. That polluted water is actually being dumped into Tampa Bay, which means that we will all be consuming it in some form or fashion, whether it's through our seafood or if you are a beachgoer and you notice the degradation of the water quality, all of the marine plants, animals that are affected will then affect us. And so we can't disconnect from events like that. And what we need to do is we need to make sure, much like any other corporate risk, that when there's a corporate polluter like that we hold them accountable. To me, if we had if there was an explosion there, the corporation would be responsible. And I don't understand what happens with pollution, that we hit the pause button for so long that when the corporation has packed up and moved on, taxpayers are stuck footing the bill and taking the poison in. And so I have long held that we need a different paradigm. Citizens in this county actually stepped up and spoke up that they wanted a different paradigm when they voted overwhelmingly for the rights of nature, for the right to clean water. Unfortunately, our governor signed into law what looks like a preemption. It hasn't been challenged in court, so we still have that on our charter. But the idea behind a right to clean water is fundamentally to prevent things like the Piney Point disaster. It is fundamentally the idea that a body of water has a right to exist. We shouldn't have to kill somebody in the process to prove that we need somebody hurt or injured to stop them, which the way our law is right now, we have to wait for an injury. So if we give out permits, that's permission to pollute up to a certain level. It's a broken system, and I think Piney Point is a glaring example of how broken it is. But really, I could point out in almost every county across our state examples of how there's big problems that we have that we absolutely have got to address, or else we won't have the kind of water quality that people come to Florida for.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that. That's something, I wanted to pick all the commissioners' brains about. Commissioner Gomez Cordero mentioned like her concern as well in terms of how that's being handled. And I, for one, when I saw that the water was being pushed out to Tampa Bay, I was like, but what about the ecosystem in, you know what I mean? I was floored about that.
It's horrible. And I think, you've probably become aware of the manatee die-off that's happened on the other coast. And we pretty much know now that they've taken some necropsies and taken a look at some of what's been going on, that it comes down to they're starving to death because we've changed the quality of the water to the point that their food source won't grow. And so they're starving. And so you're talking about both coasts that we have these tragedies going on. We, as a local government, we have certain, I believe, constitutional rights in order to keep our citizens safe and healthy, for the safety and healthy citizens of Orange County. That's a constitutional mandate. And so I really believe that those water quality issues should come back to the county, and we should be able to make sure that we hold polluters accountable. And I think that anybody out there that's watching this right now, before you vote for your next state or federal lawmaker, look into their environmental policy, find out where they are. And that has to be more than just looking at the name of a bill that may be something that isn't what the bill is, right? So you can do just even a quick read of some of these legislative initiatives that were really designed to give bottled waters more power, or designed to give polluters a little more leeway to get off the hook and get out of town. And we need to hold all lawmakers that have some ability to change those policies. We need to hold them accountable. And that starts with us down, in the county and all the way up the line.
Very, very true. To that point, a little bit, one of the things that you did do early on as a newly elected commissioner was you were present. You officiated the swearing in of the new Orange Soil and Water Conservation Board, like the newly elected officials there. Talk to us as to like what that meant for you coming in, especially as someone who's an environmental champion.
I loved it, and I in so many different ways, right? Because it felt very much also like a new day, a fresh breath of air, some great energy, and some really bright individuals that can come together and I think bring some much needed new voices to that board. I think it is an underutilized board, and I have had the pleasure of really being able to rely on one of those board members, even as a nominee now for an oversight board for one of our bodies of water, because I understand better what his background is in conservation and ecology, and where his positions are in understanding how to help residents keep their water bodies clean. So it's really been I think it's been very good timing with my tenure, and I'm very, very, very optimistic that we'll be able to build on that in the years to come.
Awesome. So on the other side of this break, guys, you guys know we like to ask our elected officials about current events. So I'm going to ask the one that is most top of mind, even more top of mind than Piney Point. But stay tuned. The conversation continues. We will be right back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a
That's
point.
My hand is clean.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
All right, and we are back with FNN Politics and Power with Commissioner Nicole Wilson. So wanted to get your thoughts, especially, based on, what your bio is saying. You're big on the underserved community. So I would love to get your thoughts, your reaction to the recent string of mass shootings that's been going on, and particularly that sort of back and forth in terms of police officers and folks of color. Kind of give us your thoughts on that and where you think the nation should go.
It's devastating. And I think that we have to call out, I think, first of all, I think there's more than one issue. I think there are clearly big systemic problems that were built into policing in America. This isn't, I'm not identifying every policeman as bad. I'm not identifying every police force as bad, because we all have some really wonderful people who work in that profession in our lives. What I am saying is that if you look at the history and the foundations of some of these really the most unjust movements in our American history, they were based largely in racism and largely utilizing police or law enforcement as a tool for that. So we have to be, diligent about looking at that history and picking it apart for what it is, to find the systems that then feed that kind of injustice. Now, a separate issue, but one that I find, all the more frustrating when you look at the data and the history and understand what's going on as far as numbers, is the gun safety issue. We've somehow been, I think, puppets of the gun lobby for way too long, and our young people are dying. I think the citizens that are the highest at risk end up being on the other end of the gun more often than not, in neighborhoods where they have the least resources to be able to protect themselves. And my issue is that we have got to separate this idea of Second Amendment rights from gun safety, because no one's saying that we're going to banish all guns when they talk about gun safety. Well, maybe some will. I think most reasonable lawmakers out there, what they're trying to do is look at safety measures, much like we have for anything that we do. We put seatbelts on when we get in the car. In Florida, if you build a pool, you have to put a baby gate around it. Those are safety measures. To get into my phone, Melissa, I need a thumbprint, but anybody can pick up anybody else's gun and use it. And why we aren't driving the technology and requiring those safety measures, because of some, I think, really false Second Amendment argument, it has to be addressed, because it's just a numbers thing. If you have 100 people in any community and you've given 80 of them a gun, if they are going to have a disagreement, your chances of a gun, being used in that disagreement go up. It's purely a numbers game. So when we look at the availability, the saturation of gun sales, the accessibility of guns to all members of our public without any comprehensive background check, without the ability to really understand who out there is carrying, I think that we are going to stay on this path. And every time we turn on the news, we're going to get like that cringe again, because we're going to hear about more pain and suffering. So much like I said to anybody that's watching this, that you going to your ballot box, if you really want to see a difference in safety and in responsiveness to gun violence, look to see who's funding your candidate. If the NRA has given them an A, that means that they're getting money from the NRA for their race. And I wouldn't vote for anybody right now that's getting money from the NRA. That's just, for me, that is a lobby that doesn't care about your safety, doesn't care about my safety, doesn't care about our children. And I think we will continue to lose people every single day to gun violence until we address that lobby for what it's taking.
Big statement there. And ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who are watching, hey, leave comments below. Let us know your thoughts on all of this, okay? We love having you guys as part of the conversation. We love the back and forth.
And Melissa, I will get into these knockdown, drag out conversations with people because, I'm out here in District 1. This is still, there's still some agricultural areas. And I'm from Gainesville. There was, that is some rifle carrying areas. And I think it's really important that people understand that when they put their Second Amendment out there as a reason to disagree with any kind of safety measure, it would be tantamount to saying that all of our Bill of Rights shouldn't have any imposition on them for our safety. And we all know every single one of those rights has an imposition on them for safety. you hear people saying you can't yell fire in a crowded movie theater. It would create a stampede. You can't incite violence with your words, even though the First Amendment is alive and well. So, these are things that when you look at the application of constraints on those amendments, and understand it's about safety, it's not about banning or abolishing an amendment.
Absolutely. So we're going to take one final commercial break, and then we're going to get into District 1 specifically and find out what the commissioner's been up to in District 1 and the future of District 1, how she sees things going. So we will be right back. This one is a quick one. This is what I call the tongue witter interview, the tongue witter commercial. So we'll be right back, guys.
At Taco John's, you can expect one thing, so good, as in quality ingredients used in tacos and burritos made just for you. Every single bite.
So good.
Expect nothing less at Taco John's.
See, tongue witter commercial. Very, very brief. But yeah, wanted to definitely get into, how you've experienced District 1 from the county standpoint now as someone who is elected to serve there, and, what that experience has been, what your initial plan is in terms of what you want to accomplish, and then also what you've been able to start working on since you've been elected.
Thanks, Melissa. So, okay, this is like one of those where I could do the whole hour talking about it. Because District 1 is so big, it is very diverse. It has, I think, geographical diversity and sociological diversity and economic diversity. And so I love my district, and I have some of the most amazing residents, but they also have a lot of their own needs, and we have, a lot of issues that we need to address. I think I was brought in to office under a mandate of looking really closely at our growth and how we're growing, and whether or not we're considering all of the current residents and future residents in that growth. And people are very concerned about being able to walk and bike to school and to work. So pedestrian safety and bike safety was really a lot that I heard from people about out on the trail, literally on the trail. And then, as far as, and it kind of all ties in, and I know that people think I'm sort of a broken record about the environmental issues, but when you look at some of the impacts of growth on our environment and the tree canopy and what we're doing, with air quality and water quality, but really those are quality of life issues. And I believe that environmental justice is justice. And so we can't separate those things, because ultimately, once again, the people that end up really getting the hardest hit or the most impacted are sometimes the ones that are the least able to fight back and to to litigate their way out of some poor planning situation. So one of the things that I've really dug in on immediately is looking at ways that we can make sure that we have pedestrian connectivity, that our sidewalks and our bike lanes are all connected and safe. I think that looking into the future, I really, as one of my top goals, is trying to make sure that we are not creating these speedway add a lane transportation only option that we have all across Orange County. We've got we have enough highways, so we need intermodal travel, and we need it yesterday. So I think that that's a very big priority for people in District 1, understanding that I think the average resident of the Horizon West area, which is the fastest growing area in the county, spends something like 24 minutes on the road in a commute. So, that means that they're not all working and playing right there, but the ones that are, we need to make sure they're able to walk and bike so we can get those cars off the road. And the ones that aren't, we need to be able to provide some options for them to be able to get around town that aren't solely, punching holes in our what's left of our carbon footprint here. So we just want to make sure that we're being really smart with all those growth plans. So every chance I get to remind people to get plugged in to the Vision 2050 planning. Right now, our comprehensive plan in Orange County is getting updated. And so we really need as many people who have been frustrated with the growth that you've seen around you to speak up. And I understand growth is going to happen, but the way we do it right now is under scrutiny, and we need as many voices as we can get in. So that's something that I really want to make sure I'm reminding people of, while we have this opportunity. I definitely think that one of my number one biggest goals coming in, and I try to do it every single week. You mentioned earlier about my social media, is to provide the most transparency I can provide. One of the biggest goals I had, actually, one of my biggest criticisms when I was looking into this role was the mystery of it. How is that decision made? What is the process? What is going on behind closed doors? And so number one, day one, I said, I'm going to open this up and pull back the veil. And I'm not always, really comfortable with the questions I get because sometimes they're uncomfortable, but that's what we have to do. I have a responsibility. I've been hired and I have a responsibility to try to find the answers and to try to dig around a little bit and to be uncomfortable if I have to be, because that means that something's going wrong. And so that is sort of, my other really top tier communications strategy, is to make sure that there isn't a mystery in local government. Yeah, right. Here we are. Yeah, every Friday.
Yep. Virtual office hours.
That's it. Now I took off last Friday because I did get my second vaccine done, but yeah, virtual office hours. And we open up, we do it's live, Facebook Live. And I know not everybody's on Facebook. We try to put it on YouTube too. And I just really want people to know that the other end of the line, when they call or email or log in, it's us. We're humans. And that means that we are growing and learning and trying every day to get better and better at this. And it's a new job for me. I'm not a politician. I'm not a career politician, but I do know how to dig around about stuff. I learned how to research things. So I do think we can get you, the answers, if not right away, as soon as we can. So I just really encourage people to plug in. We have opportunities for people to volunteer on boards. We have opportunities for them really across, any number of interests and things that we do in Orange County. And I think that local government is the ideal place to really see some changes made that you can bring about with your friends, your neighbors, your student group, your community group. And I will advocate for that and back you if you come to me.
Y'all heard that first. You heard it here first. And I mean, if you guys need to connect with Commissioner Wilson, the information is below. Not only her email address, but also the Facebook page, so you can catch her on Fridays for the virtual office hours. Let them know what time the virtual office hours are.
We go live at 4, unless there's something wacky going on with the BCC, and sometimes we move it up or out, but we will post those also. Instagram, there's also we try to at least do the reminders on Instagram and YouTube also. So yeah, and if you email us, we can send you all of that stuff and get you on a newsletter list also.
Awesome. So guys, heed that below. The information is below. Make sure you take it down, take a screenshot, take a pic, whatever you got to do. And lastly, very quickly, just to wrap up, kind of talk about the future of District 1. What would you want to see?
Oh, the future of District 1. Oh my goodness. Okay. So what would I want to see? I mean, we talked about a little bit, highlighted on some of these already. I want to see in some of those areas where we've allowed developers to clear cut, I want to see us replant so we can get some of that carbon offset started. I know it's not going to happen in my 4 or 8 years, but I will feel better knowing that I'm leaving it better than I found it. I got it. And I want to see us really, if we can tap into what the Biden administration is talking about for infrastructure and bring some of those dollars specifically to D1 for some of that intermodal travel. There's a clear plan right now to get all of our trails connected so that we have a complete trail system. We have the beautiful West Orange Trail in District 1, and I encourage anybody who hasn't been out there to come take a look at that. I would love to add to our we have 2 really beautiful preserved areas that you can visit. The Oakland Nature Preserve and the Tibet Butler Preserve. I would love to add to those gems or even add a third preserved area. I know a lot of times when we talk about trying to put away environmentally sensitive land, it's on the east side of town, and I'm a little bit defensive. I'm like, wait, what about us? We have the Butler Chain of Lakes, which is the headwaters to Shingle Creek, which goes on down to the Everglades. So we have to, we have a duty to protect our portion of it and really make it as good as we found it, better, and then so that the next generation can enjoy it as well. I would love to also see District 1, really suffered terribly during this pandemic because so much of our employment and economy was very hospitality driven. It was really it is the main employer and main focal point of District 1. And it's fabulous, right? We've got Disney, but
Right.
there's so many really smart people who have this great skill set, and I would really love to attract some innovative economic drivers, economic businesses, the innovative businesses in the District 1 area. And I would love to make sure that we have our educational links to make sure that we're actually graduating people who have the skills that may be able to keep them there in those innovative jobs. So, you know, I've spoken to really outstanding young people who are getting degrees in things that didn't even exist when I was in college, but then they leave because those opportunities are somewhere out of this area. And then on the other side, I meet people who were, you know, lifetime employees in the hospitality industry that have this amazing set of skills, who have now had to try to find a new career path. And so I think, you know, we trying to bring some of those innovative economic drivers into District 1 would be, for me, a huge goal and something I think we can do in the next 4 or 8 years.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Commissioner Wilson, for taking the time out to join us today. And again, guys, her information is down below if you want to be on the email list, if you have any questions for her, if you want to catch her virtual office hours every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern time. That's Eastern time. That way you'll be able to communicate. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to, you know, leave a comment below. She'll answer them. I'll answer them, whatever the case may be. We'd love to have that conversation with you guys. But thank you so much for your time, Commissioner Wilson. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Melissa. This was great. I really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And guys, that does it for this week's edition of FNN Politics and Power. You will catch us next week. As I mentioned, it's Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, whether that's live or with the premiere. So be sure to tune in. If you haven't yet, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You can find us at Florida National News, at FNN News TV, or at FNN News Live if you're on Facebook. You can catch us at Florida National News on YouTube and Instagram. So be sure to subscribe on YouTube, click the bell so you get all the notifications for all of our shows. And of course, you'll catch me tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern with Angel Perry for the hashtag Let's Clarify. Thank you guys so much, as always, for tuning into that show. And, you know, until then, stay safe, continue to stay safe. We are still in this pandemic. So continue to mask up, practice your safe social distancing, all of that fun jazz. And one final note, if you're someone who is looking to advertise with Florida National News, just shoot us an email at ads@floridanationalnews.com. You see us running ads on our shows here. We'll be glad to run yours as well. So hit us up and we'll love to get you started. In the meantime, have a great rest of your afternoon. Take care.